What's up, guys? It's Sammy Geek back here with a quick video, and today's video is kind of a special one because what I have for you today is I have actually the Aramid matching case to this guy, which this is the Fold 3 case, and I've got a matching Aramid Fold 4 case. So we're going to do a little bit of a comparison and actually see, without being a direct hands-on of the Fold 4, we will in fact be able to see how wide the screen is and kind of what this thing is going to feel like. So let me do this. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to do a little comparison on the table here for you guys, and then I'll kind of zoom it in a little bit so you can see the difference, because obviously they're going to be very similar in, you know, basically if you've held the Fold 3 and you didn't know the difference between the Fold 3 and the Fold 4, you might not even really recognize it. But if you use it on a day-to-day basis like I do, you're definitely going to notice the extra width, and you're definitely going to notice that's a little bit shorter. So without further ado, let's do this. I'm going to scoot this phone out of the way, and we'll set this guy up here. Inside this box is the Fold 4 Aramid case. I'll go ahead and I'll pull this out. So let's do something here for the initial comparison. Let's set this next to the Fold 3 case, and then I'll just kind of get this up and out of here. And I'm going to set the Fold 3 case next to the Fold 4 case. Okay, so let's scoot this over a little bit so they're kind of in frame a little bit more. But so the very first thing that you're going to see is, let me line up, and maybe this isn't the best angle to show you, and I'll show you guys in a minute, but just have to take my word for it, that the Fold 4 case is definitely going to be shorter at the top. See? The other thing that really stands out to me is, it's hard to tell, but it feels like it's going to be a little bit perhaps slimmer. Not much. I mean, it just might be a hair. But interestingly enough, again, we know now, you can kind of see looking at the display. This display on the Fold 4 is going to be a little bit more squared off, but it's also going to be a little bit shorter, of course, as you can see here, but it's going to be a little bit wider. So the first thing I did naturally is, because I'm used to seeing the Fold 3 screen, so I first kind of put this in my hand, and I kind of held it, you know, envisioning looking at this. So you can see, let me just show you the Fold 3. So, you know, imagine there's obviously a phone in there. It's a really tall display, and because the display is perfectly lined up with this case, and it's super narrow, obviously. And now, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but this is, imagine holding the Fold 4. You can see that it is definitely, just by my hand, I can tell that it's wider, and it still feels tall. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel tall. But it does also feels a little bit more like a regular phone aspect ratio. And in addition, you guys, if you look at the Fold, you guys are familiar with the Fold 3, the hinge is pretty big, stands out, it's pretty significant on the Fold 3. So when you're holding the case on the Fold 3 here, there's quite a bit of a hinge coming out of the back. The Fold 4, not only is this little, look at the difference in the bezel. Can you guys see that? Let me just see if I can bring this up to the camera so you guys can get a little better view. Let's go like this. All right, look at the difference in the bezel. So here is the Fold 3, which is true because the Fold 3 is very thick on this little corner here. And but the Fold 4 is going to be much thinner, and it's just all the way around, and it's going to have much less of a hinge. So in combination, as I just hold this now and I imagine much of a less hinge, it definitely feels better in the hand, and I can almost assure you that it's just going to be much more tossable. If you guys saw some of my previous videos, I talked about the Fold 3 not exactly being like a tossable phone. It's kind of difficult to just throw around because it's cumbersome. But the Fold 4, I think, is definitely going to make a difference. Now let's set that aside for a minute. So I will tell you, as a huge fan of the Fold, the Fold 4, I'm really excited for this. This extra, the narrower bezel, the smaller hinge, the extra width, the little bit shorter. I think it's going to be dialed in. So a couple other things I want to show you guys real quick here. Look at the difference here. I'm going to first show you guys on the table. You know what? I'll just bring them up here. So look at the difference of the camera cutouts. Can you guys see that? And now let me set it down again. This is much bigger, which I'm intrigued because this is going to fit the camera bump perfect. And then maybe I can do a different angle here as well. So just to remind you, as we look at this, as these things squeak around on the table, this is the 3 and this is the 4. That to me, I mean, that's significantly bigger. So, I mean, clearly we know there's better cameras coming, but I just find it interesting that the cutout itself is that much bigger. So just kind of a little assessment there. Also, now this one's cool. All right, let's see if I can show you guys this. Check this out. Check out the angle of this. Now keep in mind, these things are like skin tight. These are the Aramid cases. These things are skin tight around these phones. You guys see that? It's squared off like an iPhone. Now compare it to this. Because we're looking at the same edges. Compare it to this. You see how that's kind of rounded off? And then let's just compare them side by side. I'm actually seeing this for the first time as well. So that is pretty sweet. That's a pretty significant difference. Much sharper cutoff. I think it's going to have a much more professional kind of feel to it. But these rounded edges of, I mean, you can see it on the phone. I'm not a huge fan of. See how they're polished and rounded, and then this guy is just, it's damn near razor sharp. I mean, it's a pretty sharp cutoff. So that's cool. I think what my conclusion is, by just looking at the backs, I think everybody realizes this, but it's obviously going to have a much better camera. It's obviously going to be a much more squared off phone, which the more I look at this thing, the more I'm just amazed, because this is the first time I'm seeing this, how squared off this thing actually is. So I think it's going to have like a really like a pro look, if you want to call it that. This thing is this Fold 3, the poor Fold 3, and anything before it, I think is just going to feel so out of date. When everybody thinks it's an incremental upgrade, but as I'm looking at this case, you guys, I mean, just the feel of the case in the hand by itself feels more premium. It feels more iPhone-ish, and the slimmer bezel, and again, in the hand, I'm just envisioning having a much smaller hinge, and again, the screen being wider and narrower. In combination, let me just get rid of this, and here, let's go like this and just fold this, pretend that we have this device and we're unfolding it here. Just kind of set these by, and obviously there will be a little bit of a hinge, but, and just for fun, let's do this. Let's try to scoot this one over, keep it within frame, but let's put the 3 next to the 4 here and kind of see what happens. Get this phone up there a little bit more. And I'm just gonna bump these so they're the same. Okay, so you guys might not be able to see this, you maybe a little bit, but I'm looking at the difference in dimensions now when they're open. So in, give or take a millimeter or two, depending on how they're sitting. But what is cool about this is we're going to get this more squared off premium, I don't want to call it executive feel, but it's going to be like the pro version compared to the Fold 3. If you ask me, it's just the look of it. It feels much more polished. I think anyone that uses the Fold is going to see a huge difference because they use the phone every day. And these little things that Samsung has changed, I think are going to make a world of difference. I like to use my phone in this aspect ratio where I'm holding the phone, you know, I unfold it and I hold it like this. Essentially, if I take this guy, it's so slick without a little Aramid case on. If I hold this guy, that's pretty much how I use the phone. By the way, the crease is going to be a lot less significant. But so for me, this is kind of what I'm used to. So it's a pro for me that it's a little bit shorter and a little bit wider. That's going to be a good thing. But as I look at this here, I think my final impression, and I'll just leave that, you know, it's up to you guys, obviously, when you get your hands on the phone. But I can tell you these little changes are looking pretty sweet. And I am very, very excited for this phone. I am kind of pre-registered for the pre-order. Looking forward to ordering this thing. I think, what is it, the 10th when the actual launch party comes up. So stay tuned, guys. As soon as I get the Fold 4, I will do some comparison videos. And I do expect to be truly wowed by this thing. I think any of my complaints, they probably are going to be fixing. Number one, adding a more usable front screen. That's going to be a huge one for me. So thanks again, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed this little kind of preview hands-on of actually what this thing will feel like in the hands. So have a nice one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.